So what is the agenda of today's lab, guys? Let me just write it here so that you guys also can note down. So the first lab would be your walk through the standard virtual switch policies. Second is create VDS and associate the hosts in VDS. All right. And number 3, migrate the virtual VM network and VMK port from standard virtual switch to VDS. And fourth is check the VDS policies. All right. And yes, absolutely, we will create the port groups in VDS. All right. Take a snap of this, or I'm just keeping it for now. So let me show you first the switch level policies that we can make amendment any of the host. In case of standard virtual switch, again we have to just if we will make change on any of the standard virtual switch, then we have to make the change for all. So if I will go to SVS1 for host 1, edit it, you could see here is the MTU, is the maximum transmission unit of data. That's an 1500 bytes per second. So this MTU should be matched with the top of rack switches. When we say security policy, so security policy, you could see promiscuous mode is by default reject. So there is two options, accept and reject. If we will reject it, it means that by default any traffic is coming to specific virtual port that will be accepted by that. But if I will make it an accept, the traffic is coming inside any port group that would be broadcast to another virtual port also, and that could be monitored by another VMs that is connected to your specific port group. When we say MAC address change, accept, it means that is if any VM, any MAC address we will change from the inside operating system of VM, there would not be any impact of incoming traffic if it is in accept. But if I will make it reject, if I will change the MAC address of VM from the OS level, if I will select this option reject, any incoming traffic will be blocked by default. Force transmit, just reverse policy of that. If I will change the MAC address of any VM, any traffic is going outside, that will be accepted, means that is possible. But if I will do reject, it will stop the outgoing traffic if I will change the MAC address. Traffic shaping, by default disable. We can enable these values, how much traffic can go outside from your particular VM NIC. how much traffic. By default, it is disabled and normally people don't enable it. Teaming and failover policy. Under teaming and failover policy, we have number of failover policies. Route based on originating virtual port. So any kind of load balancing policy only work when we use two or more active uplinks for a specific port group or a specific switch. So route based on originating virtual port, it means that any traffic will go outside, that will create a virtual port ID to the available physical NICs and they will distribute the workload. Route based MAC has, it will distribute the MAC addresses, and route based IP has, it will distribute the like it will maintain the source and target IP addresses on each. And explicit failover, it means that only we will use one NIC. If one NIC got failure, then second NIC will take the responsibility. But for best practices, we always use the route based on originating virtual port. Network detection failure. Network detection failure means is if any actual failure is detected, like some cable got disconnect or maybe some switch got disconnect, then my ESXi or my virtual switch is capable to read any failure and it will do failover to the respective NICs. Notifying switches, yes, anything is happened. That's beacon probing is more granular way of detecting the failure. But for beacon probing monitoring, you need at least 3 NICs here. But normally people keep it as link state. Notify switch, yes, it should be failback. Failback means is if 2 NICs I am using in NIC teaming and and NIC 1 got failure and NIC 1 managing the 10 VMs traffic and it will come back, then automatically those 10 VMs traffic will be managed back by VM NIC 1. Sometime what people do, like some of the traffic they like, for an example, in this scenario, it have only 2 NICs, both are active, but sometime people what do, if different kind of traffic, VM NIC 1 active and standby, like VM NIC 2, only one time VM NIC 1 will work, but that time there is no meaning of these policies because it's a load balancing policy and load balancing policy is only applicable when you create 2 or more physical NICs. Unused adapter is always adapter that you have identified, but you are not actually using for the any kind of traffic here. So all these policy I can apply on virtual switch level also, and also the same policies can be applied to the port group level also. If I will click F1 PG, edit. So these policies can be applied on port group level and individual port group will override the settings that it is getting from the virtual switch. Manage physical adapter is typically to manage the uplink port, how many uplinks you want for that. And like if you will see the physical adapters, these are available here. If you will click any of the physical adapter, they will let you know what is the detail of it. These are 10 Gbps. Properties of this, these are 10 Gbps. CDP means by default it is not showing here anything, but whenever you use any actual physical switch on the environment, it is from Cisco, it will tell you for which physical switch port these are connected. This uplink is connected. Same way, if there is top of rack switch is non-Cisco, then it use the LLDP protocol for that. All right. So that's how we need to manage. But again, I would say people, until unless there is some special requirement, people don't use any kind of the policies. They keep it as it is. All right. So now let us create a vSphere distributed switch. So before that, any question or are we clear on it? So for creating the VDS, I would recommend to keep at least 2 physical uplinks. So what I will do, I'm freeing up one uplink from each of the host. So if I will go here, manage physical adapter, and I am just time being, I am taking only two nicks, one nick per host to maintain the vSwitch 1 traffic for now. So this is my vSwitch 1 manage adapters. So I am freeing up one physical NIC from each of the host. Okay, very good. Now I would like to give control to any one of you who is interested. Let me know. Praveen, you there?
Yes, sir.
You are interested to do this lab?
Actually, I am on mobile.
Ah, then again I have to give control to Siva. Siva, control is with you. I will instruct how to do that. All right, and you will follow the steps. All right. So under vSphere client, not from here, because VDS we have to create on data center level. So yeah, come on left pane. Yeah, go up, little bit more up. There is four shortcuts, na? Yes, go to right one. Yes, these are. Go to networking. Yeah, which is your data center? Our data center name is vSphere Lab DC, right? Expand it. Yeah, so these are the default port group have been identified so far. So right click on vSphere Lab DC, distributed switch, new distributed switch. Yeah, so give the name vSphere Lab. Before that, vSphere Lab. Yeah, vSphere Lab hyphen D switch. Yeah, go next. So it is compatible with the which version it is telling. If we have some legacy host in the environment, we can do, but yeah, that's fine. We can take the latest version for now. Yes, okay. So these are the DV uplinks. So DV uplinks is defining that how many physical ports we are going to use to manage the VDS traffic on physical host. So we will configure here two. However, we can make four, but for that ideally we should have the four physical uplinks. But right now we are using two only. We are considering just click two. Number of uplinks, choose two. और क्या प्लान है?
So we having two physical uplink free, na?
नहीं रेडी तो नहीं हुआ अभी मैं. गाइस वन मोमेंट है. वन मोमेंट होल्ड इट. हाँ सॉरी भाई वो म्यूट पे हाथ लग गया था मेरा. Yes, let's create two uplink for now, and a default port group will be created along with your distributed switch. The port group name will be D port group. If you wants to keep it as it is, that is fine. But if you wants to use in some specific purpose, you can rename it, right? Or later on, we can create number of port group on our requirement. Okay. So click next. Network IO control is just to manage the network IOPS for different traffic. Yes, let's keep it enabled. Yes, just finish it. So next action is telling you we have to create new port groups and we have to add the host. So for now, a D switch, vSphere D switch is created, left pane on bottom. Yes, but till now, no host is associated with this D switch, correct? Can you expand it, Shiva? Expand it, only you will see one port group and one DB uplink port group get created, but still there is no host. All right. So the next action is to add the host. Right click on D switch. Yes, right click. Yeah, right click. Add and manage hosts. Under add and manage host, we will select add host. Next. So, hey, what is it? It is not showing any host here. Why? Go back. Just go back. Manage host networking. Next. No. Go back. 1 second. So it is actually the wrong version. So we have to select the right version. So let's take all 4 hosts together. Necessarily we have spent 1 hour. So it's right away is asking, do you want to migrate all these? So how many uplinks we have to? How many?
2.
2 na? So 2 means we have 2 NICs free on each, correct? भाई आपने ये VMNIC 0 VMNIC 1 तो सभी होस्ट और फॉर ऑल होस्ट यू हैव ऑलरेडी यूज्ड in vSwitch 0 and vSwitch 1, correct? So now we have on each host VMNIC 2 and VMNIC 3 free. So VMNIC 2 will work with DB uplink 1 and this will work with DB uplink 2. Understood or not? Out of 4 hosts, each host, two NICs are already engaged. VMNIC 0 with vSwitch 0 and VMNIC 1 with vSwitch 1. Right? So now these 4 hosts have 2 VMNICs free. And how many uplinks we have took in DB switch? 2. The uplink 1 is mapped to VMNIC 2 for each host and uplink 2 mapped to VMNIC 3 for each host. All right. So it is immediately asking you, do you want to migrate any of the VM kernel right away to this? I would say no, I will create later. Got it? Next, do you want some virtual machine networking? Not right now. I'll do it later. Finish. So now if you will go to hosts, you should find here 4 host is part of your DB switch. So from networking perspective, now what we need to do if we are planning to migrate all the networking from SVS to DBS, go to distributed port, new. So you can create it here. One is your DB-PG. All right. Just assign the, keep it static binding, static ephemeral restore type binding. Static is good. And VLAN is something what you want to give. 101, right? So just leave it as it. Number of network ports you can increase. However, it's dynamic, it will increase automatically. Finish. Another port group you can create, new distributed port. app PG. Next, keep it as it. And for that app PG, like for an example, I'm taking VLAN ID 102. All right, finish. And let us suppose we want to create one more port group that will be used for managing the vMotion ports from the different host. और इसके लिए we have just give the VLAN ID 103. All right. Are we good so far? Clear? So what we did is now we have created 3 port groups here. One for app PG, DB PG, vMotion PG. App PG means whatever the VMs will be available standard switch here. Okay, let me rename it as it is. Rename it app 1 PG. All right. So whatever VM will be available here, they will be migrated. So how we will migrate? It is simple. Go to distributed switch, right click. Then what you will to do is go to migrate VMs to another network. When you will select, it will select the uh, source port group and destination. The source would be your standard virtual switch, and destination will be your DV switch. So even from here also, it should show some migrate virtual machine network. Manage host networking में जाना तो okay, it is just for networking purpose. All right, that's not an option. So for port group, migrate VMs to another network. It is asking from here to where you wants to migrate. App1 PG to target. Target would be your it could be your standard virtual switch itself, or it could be your another port group that is available in distributed uh, distributed switch. So now, if like for example, I want to migrate the vMotion VM kernel that is being created already to my distributed virtual switch. In this case, how you will do that? So for that, what we need to do, because for vMotion, we have already created a vMotion port group, vMotion PG. Go to host, VM kernel adapters. That is my VMK1, that is for vMotion PG, right? So for that, if I will just one second, let me just showcase that option. Go to virtual switch. That is available here. vMotion port group, not from edit setting. It will just show you the options. So just go back here, right click, add and manage host, add host. Host is already there, right? Manage host networking, click here, select all, next. Then you will find the uplink is being already setted. Manage VM kernel adapter. So whatever the VM kernel adapter from the selected host you wants to give on target. So source is this. Now target is here. So under the target, you will assign the port group. Okay. So vMotion PG. go back. So click it here. No, it is not still assigned. We have to assign a port group for the VMK1 was for your vMotion, right? So what I'm doing is now vMotion, VMK1, I am trying to move it from standard virtual switch to distributed virtual switch. Same way I can do for management and vMotion VM kernel port also. So if I will click assign here, so this is my DV switch, right? Assign. Okay, now you will go back. अरे यार, go back. इधर देखो तो ये अभी क्या है? What is this? This vMotion port group is my DV and the VMK1 which was using earlier for all of the host. Because I have selected all host, I don't need to go individually. So I will click next and it's asking for virtual machine networking. If in case there is some virtual machine available, you just select, because so far we don't have any VM, just select the VM NICs and destination port group. It will ask you for the DV switch port group. Select the DVS port group, same way. So in this case, it will migrate all of your VM's networking as well as your VM kernel networking to the standard virtual switch to DV virtual switch. So now we have just migrated the vMotion ports. So if you will go ahead and you just check that some ports being utilized here or not. Yes. So for you could see all four hosts, it is just updating. VMK are migrated from these four hosts to your DV switch now. All right. So now if you will go back to the standard virtual switch and you will try to find out the VM kernel port for vMotion that's being created on virtual switch, that will not be available there. If I will go here, you remember yesterday you have created vMotion. So we have just migrated. We have just migrated, right? So can you see that now here? No? Where you are seeing it? Now this is available in DVS. Now you will say, sir, you are opening DVS from here. Yes, I can, but I cannot do any editing thing or something like that from here, right? So now my vMotion VM kernels are migrated from standard virtual switch to DV virtual switch. Same way we can perform the virtual machine migration. Also go to DV switch and from here just add and manage host. Add if you want to onboard new host, add it, manage host networking.